All right, hey, Hazmig here. So I took the bike for a ride today. Probably shouldn't have done it, but I took it for a 10 mile. I went to like Cupertino, and I took it for a 10 mile ride on the freeway, and the bike got really freaking hot, dude. Well, not the bike, but the motor got really hot. This housing was so hot that it didn't think. I took the cover off, and I was surprised how much water is in there, dude. That's a lot of water. Now, the strange thing is, I took some of this water off, and it's water. It's plain water. It's just, it's not coolant. So that is really strange. Somehow, I think some water got in here somehow. And that's why it's rusting and stuff, Yeah, it looks like that's just plain water. That's not coolant. That's not coolant at all. Because if it was coolant, it would be green. And I guess when I touch it, it feels a little bit sticky, Maybe it's some kind of dirty water, It does feel sticky like coolant. But it's not coolant. It's not green. It's clear. See, this is the water from that cover there. I put it on this so you can get a better look at it. It's clear. It's not water. So, it's not coolant. Coolant would be green. It's not oil. It's not oil either. So oil would be kind of gray color. So yeah, and so the plan yesterday was to clean all this crap up, make it look pretty again, and then dry it, and then run the bike kind of hard and stuff, and then come back and then take the cover off, and see where it's leaking. And it's not leaking from anywhere. I don't see it in. That's condensation is what that is. That's why it's all over the cover and stuff. You can see it. It's like pulling up back here. I have no idea where that water came from. Maybe when I was washing the bike, some water got in somewhere. Or maybe when I rode this thing in the rain. I think I've ridden this bike in the rain a couple times. That water could just be like rainwater, or water from when I washed the bike. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know where else that water would have come from. So that is really, really strange. Another thing is so we checked yesterday, and the motor temp sensor doesn't work. I found out if you and the big problem is the motor doesn't cool down. The motor's not, the water cooling or the water pump is not operating because it's not getting hot enough. It doesn't see it getting hot enough. The sensor doesn't say. So if the sensor says it's too cold, it's not going to kick the water pump on. And if it's incorrect, your motor's going to burn up. So yeah, after I took it on the freeway today, it spewed a bunch of coolant from the overflow kind of port and stuff. I saw it was under the bike and stuff. I was like, oh, my bike started puking out coolant. So I think the water started boiling in there, I had just topped it off too, so maybe the level is right now. Maybe I put too much water in. But yeah, I'm a little what the hell. But I'm kind of scratching my head here. I don't think this is a coolant leak. I think this is just plain water. It's not coolant because coolant. See, my finger is dry now. Yeah, my finger is dry right now. It's not coolant will not evaporate. Water will evaporate. It won't dry. You'll always have it on your hand, But so just if you remember that. If it does dry, it becomes kind of crusty, kind of that stuff in there. But yeah, I don't know where that water came from. But I don't see any coolant in there. I don't see anything dripping yet. So I think. So here's what I found out. I found out so. What a thermistor is, it's a resistor, and what the resistor does is the resistance changes when the temperature changes. So I think in this case, so I found out if I put a jumper on this, okay, if I put a jumper here, boom, it says it's too cold. Yeah, so it says it's too cold. So when there's no resistance, so I guess when a thermistor gets hotter, it creates less resistance, and it makes it cooler. It tells the computer the bike is running cooler. And so when I put this jumper in, I can show you real quick. So this is the one going to the computer, and so if I jump this wire here, the pump will not turn on. Okay, so there's some, the connectors are back there, so I don't have to. This wire is a little bit thick, so I made this little jumper out of a piece of wire. Okay, and if I fire the bike up, okay, see the pump, the motor temp. It's not even hooked up right now. It's not. The wire is not even connected. It says it's minus 38 degrees. Like it's not even registering, sort of. But if I take the jumper off, so now it's shocked down. Boom! Water pump turns on, and it immediately says like 390 degrees. So I think one way that I can get away with just having the pump on all the time is don't connect this wire. That's all. Don't connect the wire. So when there's no resistance, it says it's too cold. When there's more resistance, like nothing's hooked up right now, it says it's too hot. So if we were to stick a resistor in there, you can probably play around with the number on this display here. But right now it says 390. 390 is like the hottest it'll get. So this is what I noticed. But the water pump is working. Yeah, I can definitely, you definitely hear the water pump. I can feel the hoses getting warm and stuff now, and it's cooling. So it's still hot though, but I guess it's not going to cool if we're not moving. Yeah, the radiator. Oh, the radiator's pretty warm too. So okay, that's good. So I found out one way you can buy just have the pump turn on all the time. Alternatively, what Hades Omega was thinking of doing was getting, like I mentioned last night, was jumping the relay here, so it's on all the time, and it won't. The water pump will not run when the key is off because that relay only gets power when the bike is on. So I guess there's probably like two trigger wires. There's where it gets its power from a 12 volts. So from like a switch 12 volts, and then there's a signal wire that when it gets to a certain point, it turns the water pump on. So something like that. That's the biggest thing. So yeah, Hades Mega's a little confused right now. I'm kind of scratching my head. There's no coolant that's coming out of this. It's not coolant. I don't have a coolant leak, in fact, which is good. That's a good thing, but I don't know where this water's coming from, so it's mysterious. Hades Mega is what the hell. So I think what we're gonna do is probably wash the cover again. Wash the cover, let it dry again, and then put it back on, and then I'll constantly take it off, put it back on until I don't see any more water in there. I feel that there's some kind of water trapped in there, and it's trying to get out. There must be a significant amount of water, because there's a lot in there, and it probably wherever the water is, it's probably damaged the thermistor. That's what I'm thinking. So, all right. So I think what I'm gonna do with these wires is I'm just gonna kind of hide them here. This is where it was, yeah. One of them goes here. One of them goes here, and then one of them I'm just gonna hide, like right here, right next to the other wire. Okay, and then forever the pump will always be on, which is fine. I'd rather have that pump on than not on. If you know what I mean, right? Is it cooling down? No, it's not cooling down. So another thing about this cooling system is there's no fan on it. So if you're at a stop, it don't cool anymore. Yeah, it doesn't cool anymore because the radiator is not getting any airflow. So that's another problem with water cooling. Depending on like how much volume you have, But yeah. So anyway, I'm pretty happy. I kind of figured out how to get the water pump to stay on. So I think we're just gonna do that for now. Maybe when I might try hooking it up again later when this stops if I can figure out how to stop this from happening, this, you know, this water coming out, it's yeah, if I can figure out how to keep this thing from water from coming out and making all this stuff rust, you know, kind of suck. So, all right, so I learned some stuff today, and I figured out how to get the pump working. So it's I can ride my bike, you know. That's the good thing. It's still, there's still some kind of water coming out of it, and I think it's just some water that's been trapped in there. I think one thing we can do is probably drill like a vent hole somewhere. Yeah, maybe drill a vent hole in the cover so the moisture has somewhere to go, you know. That's what I'm thinking. Or maybe, oh, you know what you could do? You can put those Decadent packets, those packets that like those dryer packets that, like, you know, it keeps stuff from getting moisture, you know. Dehumidifier packets. Yeah, you can put a dehumidifier packet in here, you know, just stick it right here near under the wires, you know, and maybe it'll suck out all that moisture, you know. But I think for now, I know we can't ride the bike without the cover. We kind of have to ride it with the cover. I mean, I don't see any problem with, you know, my getting electrocuted by my boot touching it, but I'd rather ride it with the cover on. So what we're just gonna do is we're gonna ride it, put the cover on, and then whenever I come back home, I'm just gonna remove the cover. So, but like I said, what we could do is take that gasket out. There's a gasket around here, or yeah, you would have to, if you could make a vent, like if I could drill a hole on the bottom of the cover. Maybe drill a hole in the bottom of the cover for like to like drain the water, and then drill a hole on the top of the cover. I think it's supposed to go like this, right? So drill a hole like up here, and then drill one on the bottom, you know. So moisture can get out of there, you know. That's really strange, though. It's that's water. That's straight up water. I'm telling you, that's not coolant. So that's a really interesting stuff going on there. I wonder if I get like a fan and I put it on the radiator, will it cool the motor down? But yeah, so if I disconnect that wire, if I disconnect this wire here, it'll forever say 390 and it'll kick the pump on. So just Hades Omega will just not look at that anymore. That's what I say. I feel like it's not, and I feel like it's not 92 degrees Fahrenheit right now also too. It seems like it's too much. It feels like maybe like it's in the 80s right now in my garage. So I think that temperature for that is inside here. So maybe it is that warm in there. I'm not sure because there's some electronic stuff in there. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with my findings. The good thing is the coolant's not leaking, so I don't really have to worry about losing coolant. It's water that got in there somehow. I don't know how. It seems like a significant amount of water. So what we'll have to do is just keep on riding it, let it evaporate in there, you know, suck it out, and then open the cover, let it dry out, and then put the cover back on every time until it's dry. That is really strange. You know, so the reason though it's not letting the water out is there's a gasket around here, and it seals this. It seals it pretty good apparently, because like the water has nowhere to go, except on the bottom. It kind of leaks from the bottom sometimes, and that's how I found out it's leaking. You know, and the reason it's orange and not green is because there's rust in it. This stuff started rusting in here. So ain't that crazy? Yeah. So, all right. So that's the second. That's the second part of our little coolant leak vlog. It's not we found out it's not a coolant leak. It's not a coolant leak, okay? So that's a good thing. And I found out how to force the pump to stay on all the time. So hopefully when I turn the key off, pump turns off. Okay, good. So I don't want that pump staying on all the time. All right, so that's a good thing. So it looks like I can still ride my bike, but we have to figure out. We have to get all this water out of there somehow. I'd imagine I don't see any water in here, but there's water. It's probably where the wires are. There's water, so the water's probably there's probably water trapped back there, and I don't know how it got back there. You know, that's pretty nuts, right? That's probably from, you know, winter time, you know, when it started raining. I rode the bike in the rain a couple times, so rain and electric motorcycle just don't mix, man. I'm telling you, just try to keep your bike out of the rain, dude. All right, needs to pick up. I think also alternatively, what I could do is get a hairdryer. Get a hairdryer and dry out all the water in there. So also another thing I'm thinking is that water could have been the water I sprayed in there from last night. I know I made sure I double checked to make sure everything was dry before I dinged it, you know. But there's no coolant leak. There's no coolant coming out of there, so. I think we should just ride it some more, take the cover off, dry it, and then ride it some more, and you know, until all the water's out of there, and or until we can find a leak, you know. So I'm gonna have to get good at taking that cover on and off. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Like some of it wants to come off and some of it doesn't. Like the part up here is really easy to take off. All you have to do is kind of peel it off and it pops off. The rest of it is kind of hard to get off, and one of the tabs are broken on it too already. So yeah, so I think we're just gonna have to ride it, let it dry, ride it, let it dry. Like I said, we could probably use a dryer to get the water out of there, but like we'll just ride it. It'll naturally get hot, and then it'll evaporate, and then it'll dry, and then I'll leave the bike, you know, overnight. So what I'm thinking, what I'm hoping. Okay, the key word is what I'm hoping. Because, I don't know, it looks like there's some coolant deposits in there, though. Some of that is coolant. But what I'm thinking is, like, yeah, some water got in there when I was riding the bike in the rain or something, and it never came out, you know? It's trapped in there, so I was surprised how much water was in there when I opened the cover, so I think that's just the heat. You know, it's making the water get hot and evaporating it, and then it's like condensating over everything. So, but that's a lot of water back there. So the water must be getting in somehow. If this is what I think it is, it's just water coming from the outside going to the inside, then it must be coming from somewhere. Like when I wash the bike or something, or when I ride the bike in the rain, like water gets in there. So, but anyway, we'll just continue to do this. We'll just ride it and then take the cover off. See if it got wet, check for coolant leaks, and then let it dry. I'll just let it dry naturally, you know. I'm sure the motor is plenty hot right now, so it'll probably dry pretty good. All right, let's check out. All right, Hazemeg here. So it's been a few hours. I left this in the sun for a little while, and to see if it would evaporate, and most of it evaporated, but not all of it. So it leads me to believe there's a lot more water in my coolant than coolant. So that's interesting. Yeah, I think whatever's left is the actual coolant. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's what I think, because it feels like coolant. But most of the stuff that came out was water. That's kind of weird. It like kind of separated from the coolant. So that's a bummer. I was hoping it was just some water that trapped in there, but it doesn't look like it. Okay, yeah. Anyway, we'll just keep on monitoring it. I'm just gonna rinse this off with water and then let it dry and then put it back on. Okay. I don't see really anything wet in there. Yeah, there's really nothing wet in here anymore. So. It does get kind of sticky because of the coolant, I guess. All right, here's me out.